Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. I just want to start off by saying that while as it's me that's up here giving the presentation and I kind of put all this stuff together, everything that I'm going to be talking about tonight has come as a result of basically 2.5 years of conversations with myself and Glenn have on a daily basis, and all of the stuff that we've learned since opening the gym. So it's me up here talking, but everything that I'm saying is coming from the both of us. So for starters, this September is coming up on the 6th year that I am making my living out of fitness. And the thing that I always kind of come back to is that I'm continually humbled by how little I actually know. And like it seems like the more I learn, the more I realize that there's still out there to learn. And myself and Glenn are always like reading books and attending seminars and having meetings with people who we view as mentors or specialists in certain fields. And the thing is that when you get presented with a lot of information in a short period of time, you tend to kind of forget a lot of stuff. So like I have 2 goals for this evening, and I'll tell you about one of them now, and I can't tell you what the other one is until the very end. So we'll see if I can do it. But the first thing is that everybody here tries to take away one thing that you can immediately implement into your life somehow to have success with something. So that's the thing, whenever we go to seminars, we're always kind of looking at each other trying to figure out what that one thing is going to be, whether it's read a book or talk to somebody or different things like that, because when you, as I said, like when you get a lot of information, it's really hard to do. So we've been open for 2.5 years, and in that time, one of the main things that we've kind of decided to come upon is that like everybody is vastly different from in terms of like their background, what their perception of certain things are, your exercise history, all of this thing. We're going to get into a lot of detail in a few minutes about it. But what we kind of felt like was incorrect, so to speak, is that when people were coming through the door, no matter what your background was kind of like, we were too quick to kind of give you a prescription. So we were always just, you'd come in the door and you'd be like, this is my goal, and you'd be like, all right, this is what you need. And we ended up kind of just pushing everybody in the same direction, even though there's a lot of differences along the way. So jumping too quickly to what the prescription was what less than ideal. And over the past year or so, just through continuous research and study and attending certs and stuff like that, we were kind of looking at our own life and how we've progressed in training and business and just personal health and well-being and mindset and all that stuff. And there was 3 main areas that we kind of were able to hone in on and say that if you focused specifically on these 3 areas, that it would lead you to success long term. And those 3 areas are lifestyle, nutrition, and fitness. And that's what this talk is going to be about. I labeled it originally as Beyond the No Bread Challenge. So it's like how you move forward after doing this challenge, but we're going to discuss each of these topics in detail. The bulk of it will probably be spent on nutrition, and it's probably going to be the one that most of you will have questions on. So if you guys do have questions, just throw your hand up and ask me at that point, just so we can kind of stay on topic. And hopefully I'll be able to answer it. If I can't answer your question, I'll point you in the right direction, or I'll go and find out from another source. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. So the first portion of that is going to be lifestyle. And some of you may have heard this kind of concept that we've been playing with recently over the last couple of months, is that every day is Friday. So this kind of, this idea came about originally when I worked in a gym in New Zealand, and this dude named Jonas, he was this big Brazilian guy, and one of the coolest guys I've ever met, but he used to be the smiling all the time, like laughing, joking with his clients, we all used to kind of aspire to be a little bit more like him. He had worked in the gym for 6 or 7 years. And I remember like occasionally he would walk into the staff room on a Wednesday, and we would all be like tired in the morning, and it's like 5 or 6 a.m. just getting ready for the shift to start, and he'd walk in and like clap his hands together, and he'd be like, it's Friday, and we'd be like, what are you talking about, dude? It's Wednesday, you know? And then so I just kind of brushed it off as him being crazy in the moment, and like never really thought about it. But as we've kind of progressed over the last 2.5 years or so, we've gradually been able to eliminate things from our life that we don't like doing. and we've been able to basically create a life for ourselves that every day feels like Friday, as in it's the end of the week, you've got the whole weekend ahead of you, and you're just excited about every day that's going forward. And we kind of like started, myself and Glenn started going back and forth, just kind of saying this as a joke, like over the last few months. And then I actually saw a book in an airport, and I took a photo of it and I sent it to him. It was called Every Day is Friday. It was written by this pastor. I think his first name is Joel. I'm not sure the second one, but I've seen him on TV a bunch of times as well. But there was a thing written on the back that it was like, if there was studies done that people are just happier in general at the end of the week because when they know that things are going to come up. So this kind of a concept was more the mindset that we just tried to start to instill in all of you guys. And then we started to look at what the actual processes were in order for us to kind of develop this mindset. And as we progressed forward with that, the first thing was thinking about like your level of fulfillment, happiness, and purpose. So it's a very kind of touchy subject, and it's one of those things that it's like people almost feel uncomfortable about it because you have to almost like admit to yourself first that you can spend your days doing stuff that you don't necessarily like doing, and kind of acknowledging that to yourself is kind of the first step towards making change with it. But if you're not getting up and feel driven and happy and like get fulfillment out of what you do on a daily basis, there's things that we can do, and there's things that we can help you guys do it, like rearrange in terms of your schedule or things at home or things in here even, or with your nutrition, or a whole host of things that can give you a little bit more like happiness in each area. And I'll stay on that for a second. So as I was saying, like it's a very touchy subject for people, and we've kind of been through the process ourselves of going to a day-to-day job or whatever it is and like not enjoying what we were doing. And in order to get away from that, like my dream was to open a gym, and that was my dream since I was 14. It kind of got pushed back into the thing, but 6 years ago when I was 22 was the decision that I made, that I was like, I'm going to leave this office that I was working in and that I hated every day that I was going in. And I didn't have a crazy plan. I was like, I'm going to go open my gym tomorrow. And I don't expect, if some of you guys like aren't happy with what you're doing, I don't expect you to just randomly change everything tomorrow. There obviously has to be like structure to it in place, and you're going to set things up before you change them. But just because we've been through it, and multiple people, so myself, Glenn, Jared, Sarah to a certain extent, Pete, Ben is starting in the path now, Rita, all these people, it's like you can do whatever you want to do, and we have the recipe, and we can sit down with you and like change things around so that you start down that process, and that's going to lead to your results long term as well. So it's not just a case of you're just coming into a gym and you just do workouts and just leave, and that's the end of it. So the lifestyle piece is going to be something that we're going to start offering more as a service and try to help people on that regard, having gone through it ourselves. And it's similar to the fact that we like learn how to get strong and conditioned, and we figure out how to do that, and we're learning how to be happy and fulfilled and have purpose in life and go through with that as well. So moving into the next piece, sleep is one of those things that like everybody hears like, and it gets hammered on all the time, but how many hours a night you're sleeping, whether it's uninterrupted, are you getting up to go to the bathroom, all of these, do you sleep in a dark room, do you have the TV playing, do you have the radio on, are you woken up by kids, all these different types of things. All that stuff is going to affect you, and it's one of those things that people really don't like to hear. It's like people will come in and they'll be like, what food do I need to eat, how many workouts a week do I need to do it, but it's like, I want you to sleep in a dark room, and they're like, hey, no way, you know, I love they like get carried away, you know. It's like they'll do 3 hours on the treadmill, but they won't like sleep in a dark room. But it's true though. That's why you're all laughing, you know. It's true. But that's another huge thing, huge component. Stress is another thing, how you respond to stress. So everybody has to deal with things happening in their family or their job or just daily stressors that you have to deal with that are kind of out of your control. The only thing that's in your control is kind of how you view it and what your individual perspective is on all of that. So again, just kind of figuring out how to begin the process of changing your mindset on that, whether it's like educating yourself by reading books or talking to somebody or going to courses or different things like that. But that's a huge thing that will affect results. Your exercise history. So every single one of you guys here coming in. Some of you have just gotten off the couch and you're starting to work out. Some of you have been working out your entire lives. Some of you were college athletes, took a break, and now you're trying to get back into it. There's all these different elements that are coming into play. Everybody's a little bit different again, same deal. Your family life, are you single? Are you a student? Do you live with your parents? Do you have 4 kids at home? All of these different things, and that'll end up usually affecting your level of stress, which could end up affecting your level of sleep and fulfillment and happiness and all that stuff. So all this stuff kind of gets tied together, and it's really, really important. And then moving down into priorities, this is another thing that we've kind of been hitting on a lot recently, is that when somebody comes in through the door and they're like, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want abs, or I want a sub 5-minute Fran time, all of these things, you have to realize, you have to put things in order of importance in your life. So if you're saying that your job and your family are number 1 and 2, then fitness gets knocked to number 3, and then if you play a pickup basketball game 3 times a week, and that's the most important thing to you, maybe your fitness gets knocked down to number 4, and then there's no way of really knowing where, unless we sit down and actually start to go through the list and figure out where your fitness actually lies on that list. Because it's one thing to say, I'm frustrated that I'm not getting the results that I feel like I deserve, but then when we start to break down where your priorities lie with work, your family, your relationships, personal relationships, your marriage, all of those things, then we kind of start to figure out, is it the most important? Is it number 6? Is it number 4? And based on where that lies on the list, that's going to determine your level of commitment to it. So when we start to move into this, when you want to make change within your lifestyle, the first kind of step, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more within nutrition and even training, is that you have to develop awareness first. So a lot of people are just kind of going through life on autopilot day to day without just actually considering what they're actually doing. And you have the power to change whatever it is that you want. So the first, it's a 3-step process. First thing is deciding what you want. So for me personally, it was like, I don't want to live in this, or I don't want to work in this office anymore. Then you got to figure out what you need to do to make it happen. So I was like, I want to get involved with fitness. So I need to find a school that's going to train me in personal training, and I need to get a job to be able to support that. And then once you figure out and you have everything set up, then you have to start taking the necessary steps to make it happen, no matter how small. And these words are key, no matter how small. And as we lead into nutrition and making changes in your life, that's going to be the biggest thing that I'd like you guys to kind of take away from it, is that it doesn't matter if you just so as we start to progress into nutrition, if you cut out bread or whatever it happens to be 3 meals a week, and that's your start point, that's completely fine. As long as it's a step in the right direction, and as long as you're going to continue to move forward from that decision, it's completely fine. All you have to do is start. So when we start to talk about nutrition, we have to take into consideration all of those lifestyle pieces that come into play first. So your exercise history, what are your stress levels like, how are you sleeping, what's your family life like, all of this stuff comes into play. And that's kind of like when we do something like a no bread challenge, we send you guys out like a basic kind of guidelines, and we're like, I just want you guys to kind of stay within the parameters of what we're saying about this, because when everybody is different, you have to take all that stuff into account, and you can't just give someone a book and give someone like, this is what I want you to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, because people's schedules are different. There's people that are sitting at a desk all day and they don't break for lunch. There's moms who are running around like crazy all day and they might be eating in the car with stuff that they've brought with them. There's people who actually have the luxury. I have the luxury of being able to eat my lunch at home and self-prep it if I choose to do that on a daily basis. Or you have people who are traveling around all over the country and they're stopping in hotels and they have to make really quick decisions and stuff like that. So we can give you all the good principles, but that's kind of why we don't like to give you a cookie cutter template and go, if you're not doing this, it's wrong, or all this kind of stuff, because it's all about just kind of balance and figuring out what works for you as an individual. Because everybody here walked in the door for personal reasons in the beginning. And it may have been something like you want to be healthy for your kids, but it still comes back to your own stuff first. So that's what I was talking about, building awareness. And when we go into here, the 4 stages of learning, this is kind of a thing that we constantly refer to when we're talking about learning movements or exercises. But so the first step is just becoming aware of what you're actually doing. So same thing as nutrition. I'll just talk about nutrition because that's what we're on. But say back 6 years ago, before I had worked in gyms or knew anything about fitness, so to speak, my level of awareness to do with food was, I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat this. And that was as far as I thought into it. But when I started to learn stuff, I kind of got a little bit more awkward and a little bit more uncomfortable when people started actually telling me what was more ideal and less ideal. So this is like our shaky period. You're a little bit awkward. You're kind of like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, and like I'm uncomfortable about it. And then you move into the next piece of you know what to do and you do it consistently, and it's becoming more of a skill. So you have persistence and there's slip-ups every now and again, but it just keeps continuing, and then eventually it just becomes natural, and it's like, this is who I am. It's part of that process. And myself and Sarah were even talking about this morning, and she was saying, like, it's funny how we've gotten to the point that we don't even look at like something like bread or pasta like as an actual option for food. And that's come from a 3-year period. So for us to get through here, so it's been a 6-year period really, but in terms of cutting out bread and processed carbohydrates and all that kind of stuff, that's been a 3-year period of going through these 4 steps. So it's not ideal to just expect everybody to just jump into it straight away, because it's not maintainable. And that's what's happened in the past. We've given you guys a 50-day challenge. This is like the fourth, I think, is it the 4th one? 5th one? 5th. And then we still have people that are finishing the challenge that completely go off the wagon, slip up, and they go, when's the next challenge? I want to get back on board, you know? So tonight, the purpose of tonight is to give you guys some basic principles that you can continue to use moving forward forever, so that in 3 years, it might take you 5 years, it might take you 6 years, you can get to the point where you're like, this is just who I am and this is the way that I eat. It's got nothing to do with a challenge or anything like that. I just happen to cut out all of these foods. So, meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. This is kind of one of those things that, you know, when you guys come in the workout, it's like the easier it looks on paper, the harder it actually is. This is so basic, 10 or 11 words. And if you stick within these parameters for what you eat, 90% of the time, like, you're guaranteed to succeed. Good principles have to win out over time. And if you think of this as like a funnel, so think of meat and vegetables up at the top, and as it just comes down and gets smaller to the amount that you're actually using. And if you just use that as a basic guideline, so the most important thing in your diet is going to be meat, and we're going to talk about the structuring of it a little bit in a minute. Most important here, and sugar being the least important. Okay, so moving forward with that, that's going to be the mantra that we continuously keep referring back to. Every one of you guys should have this memorized, have a photo of it in your phone, whatever it happens to be, and that should be how you're kind of viewing everything every time that you're going to eat something. So.
Paying for the first person who tattoos that on their body.
Awesome. So when we look at that.
I have a tattoo already, though.
Yeah. So when we look at the layout of all of this stuff, it's broken down into 3 main macronutrients. Macronutrients are just nutrients that your body needs to survive. So there's protein, chicken, beef, fish, poultry, eggs, carbohydrates, veggies, starches, fruits and grains, and then fats, nuts, seeds, and oils. I've left out a couple of things in here like dairy and stuff that's kind of gray area. We'll talk about that stuff a little bit in a minute, but that just gives you guys a kind of a basic rundown. So now, we're gonna go through each of them, talk about the importance of each one, and what you guys can kind of do in order to start moving forward with it. So the most important thing that goes into your body is going to be protein, number 1 above everything else. And we're going to go through the list in a second, but every single time that you eat, you should be looking for where the protein is first. And whether it's a snack or whatever it is, regular meal, that's what I want you guys to kind of leave. If you leave here with nothing else tonight, that's the number 1 thing. So the first thing that we're going to look at from protein is TEF, and that stands for thermo effect of foods. So this just means that every time that you eat protein, it costs your body a lot of energy in order to break it down. So if you put chicken in your mouth, you chew it up, the digestive process costs your body a lot of energy, and it's like versus eating something like a piece of bread. So that's very beneficial in terms of energy expenditure. And if you think of it like if you put a piece of chicken in your mouth and close your mouth, it'll probably just stay in there and not do anything. But if you put a piece of bread in there, it'll dissolve real quick and it'll be gone. So that'll just kind of give you an idea of sustained energy and how it'll last and stuff like that. Repair, cellular and muscular. So people kind of tend to think of protein shakes and everything like that immediately after a workout as just kind of like you've caused damage to your muscles. And that's good damage, not bad. That's what's going to create adaptation and everything like that. But you're also trying to have repair on a cellular level. So if you're tired from work, your brain is tired, communication from your brain to your hands or to your legs or whatever it happens to be. So all of that kind of a recovery has to be taken into account as well. So it's not just muscular repair, it's going to be cellular as well. And then increase lean body mass. So if you're trying to put on muscle, and notice that I said lean body mass, there's this misconception, especially with ladies, that like if you eat a lot of protein that you're going to bulk up and end up putting on a lot of weight. So I would argue that the ladies of the gym that have the biggest muscles are actually the leanest and look the best. So that's going to be testament that we're trying to put on lean body mass, and it's underlined, and I'm emphasizing it even more because it's not like getting bigger or adding fat or anything like that. It's all of the good stuff that's going to help your body just burn more energy just as you're existing. If you put somebody with a lot of muscle next to somebody with not a lot of muscle, the person with the muscle is burning more energy or burning more calories just standing there than the person that's that has less muscle in their body. Satiety, so protein fills you up, so it's going to, especially going from meal to meal, not being hungry is going to be a huge thing. And for people that are on the road or have big gaps between times that they eat, that's going to be a huge deal for them. And then always P over C, so protein over carbohydrate. So if you ever have an option, you're rushing and you have an option to grab one thing and you have a choice between protein or carbohydrates, always go with the protein. It's going to have more, it has more nutrient density, it's going to have all of these benefits going into your body, and that carbohydrates won't. And then RX, so the basic prescription for protein as a starting point is going to be 1 gram per pound of body weight a day. Okay, so that seems crazy, and the people that I've started doing this consulting with recently, I think I'm doing it with 6 or 7 of you guys at the moment, you don't eat enough. And it's crazy to think, especially for the people who are trying to lose weight, that you have to eat more food in order to lose it. And there's different variations of this. This is just a baseline starting point. Some people might do best energy-wise and performance-wise and all that with 0.8 of a gram. Some people are 1.25. It goes up as high as 2 grams for people that are trying to gain a lot of weight and a lot of muscle. But this is just a baseline measurement. And you don't have to kind of get crazy about it. Like if you guys just go, I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in each meal I figure out what my protein content is going to be first, and then in between I have 2 snacks, and that's a bit of jerky or hard-boiled egg or something like that, that's a start in the right direction if you're coming from a point where you're just not having protein at all. So just because I've written this up, you might be like, wow, that's crazy, like I'm not having anywhere near as much as I need to be having. Just get started and then move on down the path. Like for me personally, my end goal with nutrition is to be able to prep my meals every night, to know what time I'm going to eat at the next day, to know how much protein, carbohydrates, and fats are in every single meal that I'm eating, and see how it's affecting my body. I know I could do it in 2 days' time if I wanted to, but my level of commitment isn't there right now. And I understand that, and I understand that my results are determined by that level of commitment. So just understanding that first is the beginning, and when you start to throw out like grams of this and grams of that and weighing and measuring and stuff, you kind of tend to lose people because they just think it's too complicated. It's very simple. Just make sure that you have protein in every meal, and that'll get you on a starting point and start building the awareness of, I felt good after I ate this, I felt bad after I ate that, and just kind of use that as a process of elimination. So we're going to get onto carbohydrates in a minute, but before that, the second most important thing that I want you guys to leave with is a note on hydration. So you've heard it, it's like a broken record over and over again. You have to drink 8 glasses of water a day, all that kind of thing. But I'm going to hammer it here. Prescription for water, half your body weight in ounces every single day. And again, that might seem a little bit crazy. How many ounces? So for me, I'm about 200 pounds. This is 16 ounces. I need about 8 of these, a little bit more than 8 of these a day. And I was saying it to somebody over the weekend. They were like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, I don't think it's that much. But if you're coming from a position of you're not drinking any water, it can seem like a crazy amount. But even if you were to think of, if you eat 3 meals a day and you had a glass of water before breakfast, after breakfast, before lunch, after lunch, before dinner, after dinner, that's 6 glasses right there, and you only have to fill in 2 more like throughout the day. And again, this is just a starting point. If you have one of those shaker bottles, you just keep it with you all day. If you're in an office, you just refill it, going back and forth like that. But the benefits of being hydrated are going to be huge. That will end up affecting your performance, and then that could already tie back into the lifestyle aspects of you being stressed because your brain isn't communicating good with your body because it's dehydrated. Your body is 80% water, so if you're not taking in enough, your body isn't going to be able to do what it needs to do. And it's the same sense of if you don't eat enough food, your body will actually hold on to nutrients, and you can actually end up putting on weight by under-eating. And this is the thing that I'm seeing over and over again. I'm seeing people that are very overweight and they're not actually eating a lot of food. And it's the same thing with water. You can start to get bloated and your body will hold on to that stuff if you're not taking it in constantly, so it can kind of use it for what it needs to be used for. And I've put variation in parentheses there because this is just a baseline. If you come in here and you work out, that's more because you're expending more energy throughout the day, so you need to take in even more water throughout the session, constantly going back and forth with all of that stuff. So again, that's just a starting point. Dehydration, as I mentioned, communication between your brain and the rest of your body. I noticed that if I wake up in the morning and I feel really tired because I take notice that I didn't drink a lot of water yesterday or different things like that, and I notice if I have a headache or if I'm tired, I'll just start chugging water, and it really, really helps. And it's one of those things that it's so basic and so obvious that a lot of people just kind of tend to overlook it. So that's going to be like the number 2 thing that I want to hammer into you guys tonight. Try to take it in around meals. Yep.
I just want to say too, one really kind of easy way to make that more applicable as well is to always remember, if you're feeling thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So your goal is to never go to the day and allowing yourself to feel thirsty. That's a good way to kind of think about it.
Awesome. And at the moment, so this is kind of getting a little bit ahead as well, depending on what level you're at the moment, but saw recently in this course that I took that it's better to drink your water, your daily water intake around your meals. So don't drink while you're actually eating, because you're better off sitting down and chewing your food. And this is that takes a lot of discipline. Me and Glenn are trying to do it at the moment, but I would wolf my food. And like I would take 3 bites, grab seltzer water and chug it down and use the seltzer water to help swallow it, because I'd just be go, go, go. I'm trying to eat fast. I got stuff to do, you know. But now I'm just trying to like take my time and sit down and put my fork back down, chew my food, let the digestive process happen. That's going to help with absorption, all of that good stuff, and just help your body just be like everything that's going on inside function that little bit better. So if you can fit it in around your meals, that's going to be a better option than just chugging it with dinner. But if that's all you do, like the thing I gave you before, if you have a glass of water before breakfast, after breakfast, if that's your starting point, that's completely fine. Again, you just got to figure out what you need to do to get started. It's not about trying to be perfect. And then, unfortunately, juices, coffees, alcohol, and milk are not counted as part of your hydration status. Juices have a lot of sugar in them. It's best to just avoid them totally, unless in one instance, which I'll get on in a while. Coffee is completely fine. Milk is one of those kind of, it's not part of your daily hydration, but milk is one of those kind of gray areas where some people do really, really well drinking milk and get a lot of benefits out of it. Jack is one of those guys. Jack's a huge proponent of raw milk, drinks it every day. I know personally, if I drink it, I get really bloated and I feel really, really sick, like really full. I know if Sarah drinks a lot of milk, her face breaks out and she gets, her face breaks out, that's basically it. Let's leave it there. And yeah, so that's something you kind of have to play with yourself. So dairy is one of those gray area subjects that you just kind of, it's an individual basis. Again, coming back to the thing that everybody is different. There's no way of and that's why somebody's like, you have to eat this for breakfast, and then somebody else eats it and they feel really bad. It's just everybody is a little bit different. You have to just constantly tweak things and have the awareness of how it affects you. And then alcohol is always the big one. So it's not going to help you get what your goals are. So if you're trying to lose weight or get in the best shape of your life or all that kind of thing, it's not going to help you get there. As long as you're aware of that and you take responsibility in the sense that you understand that by you're consciously doing something, that's not going to help you towards your goals, and you can't use that as an excuse later on and go like this isn't working, like why isn't this diet working? I thought that this was all true. And it's like, well, you're drinking every night. You have 2 or 3 drinks every night, so, so completely fine. And again, kind of coming back into the lifestyle piece, a lot of people are like, I have to have a drink in the evening to help myself calm down. Like, I'm crazy, I use it as a de-stressor or to relax. And if that is your case, then the question kind of comes up that you would take that back into your lifestyle, and you would say, if at the end of the day you feel like you need to have a drink to relax, there's probably some stuff going on in the day-to-day stuff that you need to fix instead of having that as the crutch. You might be able to fix that stuff and still have alcohol in the evening, but you're not going to be using it as an excuse just to get into it and just so that you can relax and de-stress. Okay, so then coming back onto foods, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates get a really bad rap in media and everything like that, and like I think it was the Atkins diet originally that was the first kind of thing that ended up cutting it out, and there was all these people that had like tremendous success because the media was always like, eat less fat, more carbohydrates, and you'll be heart healthy and all that kind of good stuff. But I'm not going to be, and we've always been like no bread, like, and we try to keep things easy. We were like, don't eat it, just watch what happens, like keep it really simple, because that's kind of the majority of the foods that people eat before they build up that the level of awareness. And I'm not going to tell you to do it or not to do it. It's just going to be that if your choice is a serving of broccoli versus a couple of slices of bread, you're going to get a lot better. And even if the calorie content is exactly the same, you might get the same level of energy, but the broccoli is going to be a lot more nutrient dense and do a lot more beneficial things for your body than the bread actually will. So this isn't necessarily, like, the end of tonight isn't telling you to follow a specific diet. It's just to eat foods that are better for your body and that are going to lead to success over long term versus foods that won't. So same thing, back to everybody is different. The amount of carbohydrates that you take in on a daily basis is based on your function. So coming back to, are you a house mom that's running around with all your kids? Are you sitting at a desk all day? Do you have a really physical job like a firefighter where you're running into buildings and all that stuff? Do you drive a truck and you deliver boxes in and out of buildings? It's all on an individual basis. So that's the whole thing, is you can't really give a prescription based on this, like the protein, because the protein prescription is based on everybody needs, you need a certain amount of energy coming into your body just to keep your body alive on a daily basis, but that's gonna mainly come from the protein that you're eating. So when we talk about carbohydrates, it's gonna be based on your activity level. So there's no like set prescription for it. Vegetables need to be the primary source of what you're taking in terms of carbohydrates, just because of what I was saying about nutrient density and quality of foods and all of the extra stuff that you're going to get out of it, not just energy. And then the leaner someone is, the more carbohydrates they can tolerate. And this is kind of one of those things that you'll see someone who, everybody has those people who are, or those friends that are like, they're really frustrated with them because they're like, whoa, she eats whatever she wants and she looks amazing. Or you have the athlete, like we always hear about the top level CrossFit athlete, and they're eating cookies and pasta and rice and stuff all day long, and their bodies just eat it up and use it out because of their function, their daily activity level. When you look at someone like me at the moment in the off season of training, now that I'm getting back into it, my level of activity is between 7 and 10 hours a week of working out. And then if you look at you guys who come here 4 times a week, 5 times a week maybe, different levels of that. So based on all of those things, what you're going to need is going to be different than what I'm going to need, and based on what your goal is. Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to just look good? Are you trying to be healthy? Are you trying to perform? All of these different things come into play. And depending how far on the spectrum your goal ends up on one of those areas, you're going to have to sacrifice other things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So you want to think of your vegetable selection on a continuum, starting with spinach and ending with starchy stuff like sweet potatoes. So if you're overweight and your main goal is to lose weight and to slim down and go that kind of route, the bulk of your carbohydrate intake needs to come from things like spinach and broccoli and cauliflower and all those like green leafy vegetables. And then as you kind of go up the ladder and you get more to being lean and focusing more on performance, that's when you can start to put in more like starchy vegetables or fruits, or even you can even get away with a little bit of grains and cereals from there as well, when your goal is just performance, not necessarily just from aesthetic point of view, or trying to lose weight or that kind of stuff. Okay, and then fats. Fats is another one that gets a bad rap. Again, it was kind of the myth that fat was bad for you was kind of debunked with the beginning of the Atkins diet, and there's been all of these kind of continuous studies come out since then. But the main point that you need to take away is eating fat will not make you fat. And that's the main thing. I really want to kind of stay away from the sciencey side of stuff. If you guys want to geek out on going down into that, I can give you books, I can give you articles to read, all of that stuff as to the chemical processes that go on in your body that cause that to happen. But that's kind of the main thing that you just need to take away. Don't be afraid of it. If you are one of those people that eat a lot of dairy, eat full-fat dairy and full-fat yogurt, different things like that. The low-fat stuff or the fat-free stuff usually has a lot of sugar in it that's going to affect you negatively on the carbohydrate side versus the fat side. So again, fat fills you up as well. You'll be less hungry between meals. That's obviously of huge benefit. Communication between cells in your body, again, brain function, all of that stuff. It also helps a little bit with repair as this protein. The best sources are going to come from, they naturally occur in meats, so beef, fish, chicken, turkey, like all the good stuff. And then nuts. So nuts and oils. Be very careful with nuts. I would almost remove, like again, if your goal is to lose weight, I would almost just try to stay away from nuts completely. I know they're great for a snack, but it's like the whole thing with self-control is just really, really difficult. And even personally, if there's a bag of almonds in the freezer, I'll just keep going back and grabbing handfuls of them. And like every time you go into the kitchen, it's just an excuse to go and grab it because you won't even feel. That's the whole thing as well. If you view protein as number one source, it's very, very difficult to sit down and overeat on chicken or to just keep eating on chicken, whereas you could easily sit down and crush like an entire bag of nuts without even thinking about it. So those are other things to kind of keep in mind as you're going forward. And equally, I've never heard of anybody overeating on broccoli. No one's ever come in and gone, I crushed broccoli last night. Like, I feel terrible, you know? It's like, no, I've never heard anybody say that, you know? So like, and then nut oils like macadamia nuts, coconut oil, like all that stuff. It's always good. It's kind of more, when you look at that, it's kind of more as like a seasoning to everything. Like you don't go around and have handfuls of nuts like all day long, different things like that. It's usually just like garnishing something. It's always got to be protein number one. Carbohydrates number two, primarily coming from vegetables, and then a little bit of fat on the side. And then coming back to that same concept, everyone is different. You have to kind of figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. If you ate something tonight, how do you feel tomorrow morning? If you ate something for breakfast, how is your energy level throughout the day? All of these things are just going to vary from person to person, and it's going to be really, really important that you guys, if you want to succeed long term, that's the kind of the thing that you just need to keep in mind. And there's a bunch of variables that kind of go into that. The quality of where you're getting your food from. So if you have a chicken salad 3 days a week and you get it from the salad bar at work, if you think of that in terms of quality, yes, you're getting your protein, you might have had some veggies on the side, and then you have maybe a pack of nuts or something like that with it. If you think of that quality, even as a first step forward, you can try to upgrade that. So you can go, okay, instead of buying that at work, I'm going to go and buy it from Whole Foods. I'm going to buy enough for the week, and I'm going to bring it to work with me. Or you can upgrade it again and go, I'm going to buy the chicken myself, cut it, make it all at home, and then I know everything that's going into it. And then it's just about improving quality. And there's actually, she's not here, so she won't get embarrassed by me bringing it up. But there's one of our new members. She's hooked on pizza. She eats like thick crust pizza like 4 days a week. So for her, what we've started to do is just 2 days a week, we've taken it. She's very reluctant to give it up. We take it back to thin crust, and that's a step in the right direction. So as long as she's moving forward, and then we say, okay, how much chicken is on it, I want you to add some more chicken into it. So then we're improving the quality of the carbohydrate that she's taking in, and we're going to improve the quality of the chicken and how much is actually putting in there. And then over time, it might be you're having it 4 days a week. So she does that for 2 or 3 weeks. Let's make it 3 days a week. And then as long as it's constant progression, it's exactly the same with weightlifting or any of the movements that you guys are trying to get familiar with. You learn it with PVC pipe, you get barbell, you go weights up, you take notes, like all of this kind of stuff. And how important it is to you is going to be determined by your success with it. So just by improving quality, you can make huge changes. And then everything is different. If you do you work out in the morning? So we have people that work out at 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. Some people come in and they've been fasted all night. So you're coming in at 5:30 in the morning. You may have eaten at 6 or 7 the previous night. So your body hasn't had anything in 12 hours. So the result of that workout is going to have a drastically different effect on you than if you had just eaten a meal 2 or 3 hours prior. And that's something that you have to take into consideration as well. How do I feel every morning when I leave? Because you wake up and it's kind of normal. There's I can't pronounce the word, but there's this basic concept of energy balance, is that like when people wake up first thing in the morning, like as you start to wake up, and this is just a natural thing with humans in general, is that your energy level starts to rise. It kind of peaks around 10 or 11 and then comes along and then starts to go down in the evening, and then as the sun goes down, it's just a circadian rhythm, something like that. So that can kind of get messed up a little bit if you're depending on when you're working out and all of that stuff. So that's just something to take into account. Some people might do well, and again, even though I said protein with every meal, some people might get up and have a piece of fruit before they come in for the workout because they feel nauseous. And again, that's something that you have to figure out on your own. Somebody else might eat half a banana, half an apple or something like that, come in and work out and they'll feel sick and they won't be able to make it through. Different things like that. So again, something you have to play with. Do you work out in the evening? So have you worked a full day? You've had 3 or 4 quality meals throughout the day, couple of snacks, different things like that. You're winding down for the day. Then you come in and you're going to dump a big high intensity workout on yourself. Then you got to recover from that and then calm down again and go back to sleep. These are all just things that you kind of have to take into account. Same deal if you work out in the afternoon, just taking into account what the couple of hours look like before it and what they look like afterwards. Busy schedule. So are you running around all the time? Are you one of these people that says, I don't have time to prep my meals or to be able to find good quality foods on the road? And again, if you're one of those people, I don't have time, I can't do it, very reluctant to make change, we can maybe look at your lifestyle schedule and maybe try to move a couple of things around so that you have an hour, 2 hours a week, maybe on a Sunday and a Wednesday, to give you the opportunity to prep a little bit of food. Even 30 minutes, you could get a lot done, just so that you don't turn into one of those people that say, yeah, I want abs and I want to lose weight, but I don't have time to do it, but like this program doesn't work, and you're just going around like that. So you have to, we'll come on to that in a minute, but it's more just about like taking responsibility for that and realizing that you can do whatever you want as long as you really want to do it. You just have to make the decision and then decide what needs to be done. Multiple sessions. So this is kind of getting a little bit more specific, but there's some people that are viewing CrossFit as a sport now, and they work out multiple times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Some people even end up doing 3 sessions a day. But if you're doing stuff like that, you have to take this into account as well. How much food that you eat, doesn't it make sense to say something like on a day that you work out, your body would need more fuel than on a day that you don't work out? And that might be the same as on weekends. People might notice that you don't eat as much on a Saturday or Sunday because you're just kind of hanging out and you're not actually doing as much, or you're kind of out of your routine. But people who are working out multiple sessions a day and they're starting to add in supplements here, so maybe they're having something before the workout. If you're doing some really long like endurance piece, there's a lot of people that have that actually fuel during and then afterwards as well. So that's another thing that has to be taken into account. And then we can start to get more specific again about quantity of the macronutrients, so protein, carbohydrates, and fat, again, depending on your level of commitment to it. Are you trying to gain weight? Are you trying to lose weight? Depending on what you're trying to do here, everybody is trying to come basically at the Everyone has the same goal of trying to look good, have a little bit less fat, a little bit more muscle, be strong, fit, healthy. Everybody kind of has those basic requirements. It's just how much of it you want is dependent on the person and your priorities in life and all that sort of stuff. So if you're trying to gain weight, we'll have to change things around a little bit. If you're trying to lose weight, we'll have to change things around again. And then it comes back to, again, how many days per week are you training? Are you coming in 3 days? Do you come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Do you swim on the weekends? All of this thing. Again, just tying into that whole thing of that everybody is different and everybody needs little tweaks in different directions in order to succeed. So now, can you see why it's so difficult to answer the question, what should I have for breakfast? And the same thing, like when you guys come up and ask me this, and I'm like, it depends, you know? Like, because this is what I'm thinking, all that stuff that we just went through. And it's even kind of the same extent as when somebody comes up and says, how much weight should I use in this workout? I'm like, well, like, what do you want, you know? Like, there's so much there's so many things that go into it that you kind of just have to spend time and figure it out yourself. We're here to guide you in the right direction and give you all of the information, but it's on you guys to kind of experiment and tweak and figure out what works and what doesn't work, and just kind of constantly be going back and forth with that and constantly just trying to refine what you do and just always moving forward. So yeah, so what is your goal? Is your goal performance and all you care about is the numbers on the board and just winning competitions and doing all that stuff, or even beating your friends? That could be the level of performance that you're after. Is it body composition? Do you just want to look good with your shirt off? Or is it health? Is it more like you want your blood pressure to be good, resting heart rate, low cholesterol, all that stuff? And all of that, you can have all of that stuff to a certain degree. But the moment you start to chase one thing over the other, you're going to have to sacrifice other things. So if you chase performance, you're going to have to deal with nagging injuries. You might have to train more often than you would like to. You might have to sacrifice spending time with your family or going out to social events, different things like this. You might have to do things, especially in CrossFit, that are really, really demanding on your body and are going to beat you down long term. You might have to fuel your body with foods that are less than ideal, nutrient quality, because you can't get the calories that you need based on your function from spinach and broccoli. And then when we talk about body composition, if you go to extreme levels of that, so I have another client who's doing fitness competitions at the moment, and going into like the last week of their competition, all they're eating is basically fish. There's no added fat, there's no vegetables, there's nothing like that. They're basically just getting into that, and that's so that they can look the way that they look with 6% body fat when they're standing on stage for the 20 minutes or so. That's the extreme in that sense. And then when you go down to health, you're like, if you just want to be healthy and happy and have fulfillment and purpose and all that stuff, you might walk around with a little bit of extra fat on your body that you might not necessarily like how you look, if that's the one that you're chasing the most. And you can have a little bit of all of these three, just kind of trying to find balance in between all of those areas. But just realize that the moment that you start to go in one direction too much, we have to come back to your priorities and say, how important is this actually to you? Because that's how we can actually lay out a plan, and we can help you do whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to be the best at performing, for you to get where you want to be, it might take you 20 hours a week. So are you willing to commit that to it? Yes or no? And then if it's like no, then we can start to break it down and just come up with a more applicable prescription for whatever it is that you're looking for. And this is the whole thing. Take responsibility. So it's written up on the board here. I'm actually going to read it out. So take 100% responsibility for your life. You must take personal responsibility. You can't change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. If you want to be successful, you have to take 100% responsibility for everything you experience in your life. This includes the level of your achievements, the results you produce, the quality of your relationships, the state of your health and physical fitness, your income, your debts, your feelings, everything. So taking that into account and just being able to understand that on a day-to-day basis, that's going to determine what your results are, instead of just blaming things that go on around you. This program doesn't work. That diet doesn't work. I'm not sure if I'm doing this correctly. All of those things that come into play, it always comes back to, if if you're not getting the result that you want, you have to look internally and say, what I'm doing obviously isn't working. What can I change to make it, to help me move forward? And again, we're here to help you guys with that. We want all of you to get the most benefit out of coming here and not just view it as another place that you just come in and sweat for an hour like three or five times a week. And in the process of those 2.5 years, what we've tried to do is create a place where we actually give people results, because we've been able to generate results in our own personal lives, in our business lives, in our athletic development, all of that stuff, and that's genuinely what we want to help other people with. And that's where we came up with the mission statement of our mission is your results. And by focusing on these 3 areas that we keep talking about, like lifestyle, nutrition, and fitness, that will lead into, those 3 areas are going to be the determining factors, and that's what we want to help you guys move forward with. And then when we start to talk about your results, as I've kind of been hinting on the whole time, your results are 100% dictated by your level of commitment to whatever your goal happens to be. So again, you say, abs are the most important thing to me, but I'm drinking beer every night. Or I'm trying to perform and I want to win competitions, but I only work out 2 days a week. Different things, all these things are going to play huge roles in that, and your level of commitment to your goal is going to be determined by how bad you actually want it. So for me, the example that I used earlier, if I prep all my meals the night before and I know exactly what I'm going to eat the next day, I know that it will help me with performance. It has to. And I know that if I stretched before and after every workout, I would probably have increased mobility, maybe movements would feel a little bit more fluid, all of that stuff, but I'm not prepared to do it, and I acknowledge that, I understand it, and I accept that it's my choice to do that, and my results are affected by it, but it's okay, because based on my level of commitment, I'm very happy with what my results are. So just having that level of awareness is going to be key to all of you guys accomplishing your goals. And you might be, okay, and I keep using the example, I'm sorry, but like, I want abs. I want abs over here, and I'm over here. I'm 20 pounds overweight. We'll give you the path. It's going to take 6 months for you to get there. And be like, well, I really like eating these foods. I go out with my friends twice a week. And then the list starts to come down, kid's birthday, all this stuff starts to come down. So then that timeline just gets pushed a little bit longer. So maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years. But we can continuously take baby steps to get you to where you want to be. And it's always, as long as you're just moving in the right direction the whole time. And is Jay Condrick here? No? Jay Condrick posted something on the No Bread page the other day, and it was something about this rower who had, did anybody read it? What did she row across? What was it?
Across all the 3 major oceans.
She rowed across the 3 major oceans, and what she said was the first stroke that she took in the water with the boat was just as important as the last stroke that she took to achieve her goal. So that's the whole thing of baby stepping your way to success, is it doesn't matter where you start as long as you start and each subsequent step is moving in the right direction. And you're going to have slip-ups, you're going to go to parties, you're going to drink, all these kind of things. They're going to knock you back a little bit, but as long as you're always consciously trying to make change to move forward, the results will come over time. But just realizing this is going to be key to making that happen. And that's a huge thing that I just kind of want, I really want you guys to kind of leave with, and maybe something to think about like over the next few days or so.
John, from that article as well, just to reiterate what you said, I think it was 2.5 million strokes per heard across the Pacific Ocean. Which is like each one of those strokes was no more significant than the other one. It was just one foot in front of the other.
Exactly.
The next stroke, so.
Exactly. And kind of like on that point as well is that the closer that you get to your goal, the more that you're going to end up having to sacrifice. So when you first come to the gym, you might come 3 days a week and stop eating bread in the evenings, and you'll get tremendous results from that, and you might drop a bunch of weight. And then you might go back into another challenge. I had somebody was talking to me yesterday. I don't think she's here either. She told me that she dropped 15 pounds in the first challenge the last time, and this time she's only lost like 4 or something like that. She's really disheartened by that, and you just have to realize that the closer that you get to your goal, the more incremental the progress is going to be, and it's the exact same as weightlifting. As when you come in, you might PR your deadlift by 150 pounds in the first couple of months that you're in here, but then the closer that you get to your true potential, the more like intricate your changes have to be, and you have to be really, really on point with stuff like that. And we have people in here who have experienced that with the workout Fran, is that once you get under 4 minutes or even under 3 minutes, like the stars have to align perfectly, and you would almost have to specifically train for one workout and neglect all of the other areas in to succeed with that. So as we start to come into fitness, we're once again talking about those things that everybody is a little bit different. And again, what is your goal? Are you trying to perform? Do you want to look good? Do you want to be healthy? So the people that are coming in just chasing RX because their friend was doing it, and again, it's kind of like, it's our own fault in a way, because that's what we started everything out, is like everything is a competition, you know, you just come in and push yourself hard. So if you didn't sleep good and you come in and you don't feel good in the morning, it's okay for you to skip that day because you don't feel good, and if you feel like you'll get more benefit and it's going to be less stressful on you than you coming in and doing bad on the workout or what you perceive as being bad, and that's going to stress you out for the rest of the day, because we have enough stresses in our lives like on a daily basis than to be worrying about what you're going to do for exercise in the evening, you know. We get people that come in and be like, I've been thinking about this all day, and again, some of you like view that as like this is a great place for camaraderie, and like everybody comes in and we're fueled by energy, and it's a really awesome experience when everybody comes in. But to be stressing over it is less than ideal when it's like my main priority in life is my family, and I'm just going there to sweat and hang out with my buddies, you know. So just take all that into account as well as to what your goal is. So then, in summary, if we just kind of track back through all of those areas. Everyone is different. The main things to take away from this, everybody is different. When you want to make change in your lifestyle, and you can apply this to your nutrition as well as your training, you decide what you want, figure out what you need to do to make it happen, and then start taking the necessary steps to make it happen no matter how small they are. Again, emphasizing the no matter how small. Coming into nutrition, I want you to eat protein with every meal. And then you can upgrade that a little bit, have 1 gram per pound of body weight, see how it feels, do it for 1 day. Figure out half your body weight, figure out what it is, and even if you start to look at a piece of chicken or an egg and figure out and see how much protein is actually in it, and if you're eating 1 egg and you realize that there's only 6 grams of protein in an egg and you need 20 per meal, that'll be just a huge eye-opener to get the ball rolling on that. Water. Half your body weight in ounces every day, preferably around meals. And then the carbohydrates that you eat are determined by your goal, so like your level of function. And so your goal, whether it's performance, aesthetics, or general health, and then your activity level, and going on that continuum from spinach into sweet potato. And then moving forward, what we're going to be doing is, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have more of these talks as kind of our education level increases and we continue to grow as a community and all that stuff. So we're going to be having talks like this. I'm going to be putting up blog posts continually as inspiration strikes on mindset and all of that stuff. So we're offering that on a big group level. We're also going to start offering individual lifestyle consulting on, again, like individual lifestyle consulting. If you have those little things that you don't feel comfortable about bringing out in a public setting, but you want to talk to somebody and get things moving in the right direction for you. Same thing with nutrition. We're going to continue to have nutritional challenges, but if you want to get into the nitty-gritty stuff and figure out what kind of works for you guys, we can do consulting with you on an individual level. And that's the same thing as our main service offering, which is group fitness classes, but we also do personal training. So if you want to think of it in the sense of the same as the personal training and group classes, is that with nutrition and lifestyle, we can write you a program the same way as you're on a beginner's nutrition program, and we would do it for a month, and then we would just upgrade it a little bit, and you get homework, and we would do check-ins periodically, and then it's the same thing with the lifestyle stuff. So that's the direction that we're starting to evolve to as a gym, and I'm really, really appreciative for all of you guys for coming. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now. If not, and you don't feel comfortable asking them in front of a group, by all means, send me an email, john@crossfitcraic.com. If you have any questions about the individual lifestyle consulting and nutritional consultation stuff, we're figuring out the ins and the outs at the moment. We're just kind of letting you know that it's a service that's coming very, very soon. But if you are interested, like, hit me up and I can put you on a mailing list and just keep you up to date with the process. But yeah, thank you for coming.